Welcome back to episode 126 of The Grouch and the Brainstorm. I am Mike, and I'm here today with Haden.
Hey.
And Matt.
Hello.
And us three today will be The Grouch and the Brainstorm. How about that, Matt?
I like it.
All right, Matt likes it.
If you like it, I love it.
So we're going to do this the way we normally do it. So for those of out in the audience, right, they haven't listened in a week. They haven't heard, so what have you been up to, Matt? And you not what you just said 18 minutes ago. So.
Yeah. So since last week, because we recorded this
recorded 3 episodes today.
20 minutes ago, I've drank a bottle of water, and that's what I've been doing.
Well, you have to talk about what's coming up in this next week.
Well, we do have some show changes, coming, and that's kind of why we've been doing this, so everybody understands. Mike's moving. I'll let him tell all that, and he probably already has told some of it. But, we're adjusting our show a little bit, going to change some things up, and kind of filming, whatever you want to call it, some episodes to give us some adjustment time. And we used to do this when we first started, and we hadn't done it in a while. But
yeah.
But that's what we've been doing, man. Spent a Saturday up here working, and got Haden and Chris C. and Jill and a few people, and everybody just kind of jumped in to help out. So
yeah, we knocked out a few episodes at one time so that I can take the equipment, relocate the equipment to Reno, Nevada, and figure out a way to have Matt join in remotely and anyone else that wants to be. And obviously we're going to come out with a replacement for Jill. We haven't even had auditions yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough deal to fill, man.
But while we're getting all that, what we're going to do is we're going to this show right here, episode 126. After this episode, we will not have another episode until the second Sunday in October. That is when our next episode will release, and hopefully we can get, and here's the deal: if it works out, it actually will work out better. Because I don't have to drive over here from anywhere. Well, I used to drive from Dallas. I did today. But now I'll be able to sit in my place. Matt can sit in his place, and another person can sit in theirs. And we can have a podcast that hopefully it's seamless, right? And just roll right on through, and maybe even record more than one a week. Right? That would be... Sure. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, the ease of access is really going to be beneficial.
I think if we can turn it, make some lemons out of lemonade or some shit. I don't know. But we can do something with it as opposed to just giving up the Grouch and the Brainstorm and saying, oh, Mike moved to wherever and now,
And Jill announced her retirement on a previous episode, or semi-retirement. She's going to come back and do some episodes with us, but she's kind of wanted to step away from the every episode lifestyle.
Haden, Matt, I think the fame is getting to her.
Yeah.
The constant people surrounding her when she walks down the road.
And I mean, when she came in with those contract demands, Mike, about the private jet and all that, it was like, Jill, we could do one private jet. I don't know if we can do 2.
And one for the cat.
The cat gonna get his own jet
from the listeners.
Yeah. $5 million a year is just a bit much.
Said the autograph signatures were just she couldn't go out in public anymore.
She's considering plastic surgery.
Yeah, like Michael Jackson did.
So I told her Mike want to step back and. Paparazzi are still going to bother you no matter what. We get it.
I told her, look what happened to Britney Spears, and she's headed down that same path.
Brittany shook back pretty good.
She has shook back,
We warned her. We warned you.
You can make it out to the other side for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it'll work out for Jill, and she will be back on for the occasional show. It's just, actually the way I normally work weekends. And so I would get my day off, if I get a day off, in the middle of the week. And I would drive over here and meet right after she had just worked a 12-hour shift. And that would rush us into later in the evening recording, and that was just a bit much. And, so with me moving, I think just right now that's what she wanted. We respect that. Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So.
But, boy, she sure, and I'll say it again, but she has put in a lot of love and time to this project, and very selfless on her part, and has pulled a lot like you said, man, we all do this to an extent one way or another. You're giving up and sacrificing time with something else, to to do this, and you know, it's a worthy thing, we all think, and you know, Jill's awesome. So
Yeah, you know, and it's kind of like the last episode, we talked a little bit about expectations and stuff, and as time goes on, and this is typical, it's not everybody's experience, but it is pretty much everybody that was sitting at the table just a little while ago's experience, where, you know, you have this drastic upheaval in your first year of recovery, and, you know, if you give it an earnest shot, and things change really quickly, and then that slowly starts to change, but then, you know, I want to make it clear that just because there's not that personal development that happens at that rapid pace, there's still really amazing and cool things we get to do, including stuff like this. You know, this is a little bit out of the normal. You know, it's not exactly what everyone does in recovery or anything. It's kind of like a little side quest. It's one of the things we get to look forward to, you know, and that's the thing that gets to progress as we go on, and as we get a little bit more time, we get to do more fun stuff like this and reach out to people, and that's what we're here for. You know, if anybody ever needs to reach out, you can definitely reach out to anybody here at this time. And then, yeah, man, the doing the podcast, it's really neat listening to other people's stories. It's neat to hear things outside of a meeting context, and you know, people not being exactly politically correct in a lot of things that they say. So yeah, that's one of the great things about this, and we'll definitely miss Jill. She's definitely been a staple since the very beginning. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we don't want to lose listeners because we lose Jill.
Yeah,
I mean, if we're going to lose listeners, Hayden, I think we should probably go ahead and get that second jet and,
yeah,
you know,
I mean,
somewhere, meet them in the middle somewhere.
it's a negotiation.
We can put
at
up a
this
big
point.
fence, you know, for the paparazzi and stuff, but
yeah. You get the jet, I'll get the plastic.
Jill though, probably if it was a legitimate thing, Jill wouldn't be trying to get a jet. She'd be like, "I want more pigs." You know,
yeah, that's her personality.
Yeah,
She wants,
she'd just want bigger birds.
I want a bigger chicken house.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so-
Well, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if she didn't go goats or ostrich. You know,
Right.
we all know that person, right?
yeah.
You know, and Hayden was talking about some of his interesting pets later.
Yeah.
I'll let him talk about that if he wants to.
Hey,
but-
you know, that's fine. But yeah, whenever we talk about breaking up and filming at our own places, maybe we'll have a episode before too long where you guys can kind of see my snake room. We're building a facility behind the house and moving all the snakes out. And what I'll do is I'll just set up the camera, and you can just have a wall of reptiles behind me. To
Yeah,
check
and
out.
Mike's going to be in Reno, and I'm going to be there with him on that episode because I don't want to be nowhere around them snakes.
I'll
So
probably have a casino behind me.
Right.
yeah,
You know, reporting from the streets of Reno. Yeah, boot goofing.
new boot goofing.
Yeah, that was a good video.
Only 3 payments.
Yeah,
I
so-
love that.
You know, so I'm gonna look something up right quick and see. Back in I want to say the 80s, there was a song that came out, and I want to see who sings it real quick.
What year were you born, Hayden? 90s what?
Sammy Kershaw.
96.
Sammy Kershaw sung that song, right?
Which one?
It's called "Politics, Religion, and Her."
Sammy.
If y'all don't remember that, it's
Yeah.
but it's things he don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm kind of like, this is how I keep myself out of a scuff. I don't talk about politics, religion, or her.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there are things in an AA environment we just do not discuss, right?
Right.
Because they have nothing to do with recovery. And there's reasons why. It isn't because the people in AA don't like politics or don't have a religion or whatever the other things may be,
Have
right?
opinions
Yeah,
on
opinions
world
and-
stuff.
They have opinions on, believe me, some of them do, right? But
Yeah.
whenever we're in that 1 hour of open time, right, it's supposed to be a safe zone. I mean, now I've had people come to me and, hey, Mike, when are we going to bring up the vaccine?
Right.
Oh, boy, talk about you know,
Yeah.
who would have knew? You know, when I was growing up, I never thought I'd get the cooties, but I had no idea the cootie shot was going to be the big deal, not the
Yeah,
cooties, you
right.
know? But I've had people say, when are we going to, and that's not something we bring up. That is outside issues And it does not help us stay sober one day at a time. That might be something you spend time with your sponsor with if he's, going to do that. But there are just certain things that we don't talk about, and it's strictly so that we have an even kill, an even player. Man, I have seen people, I tell you what, especially in other cities, not where we're currently located, famous people. Okay, I've sat in meetings with rappers, like real rappers that go on tour, and head coaches of football teams,
Right.
and just I have been in the rooms with country superstars, right? And they go by their first name,
Yeah.
and they always say, "And I'm an alcoholic," and they don't talk about, one of the reasons I drink is because they don't, none of that. And everybody knows who they are. Nobody really bothers them. I've seen people, after the meeting approach them, kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But, but the truth is, when they get in there, all that matters is recovery. And I think sometimes that's a hard transition, especially for some of those folks that are hardcore into one way or another. But I mean, how bad do you want to be sober?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't personally have any. I hate to sound like the most uninteresting man in the world, but none of that shit really matters to me. It doesn't. I might have had an opinion when I was younger, but I've gotten sober, and life's not gotten any worse since I've seen several different people in several different positions. My life ain't got any worse, right? It's only got better because I got sober. But I went in those rooms, and that's, I think that's what I want to talk about today, is just what but not necessarily what we don't talk about, but that too, but why.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll kind of kick things off a little bit. Through the experience I've gained in the past few years, I've realized that regardless of what views we have coming into this, regardless of political stance or, none of these things matter. I don't know if we still use the same logo, but what do we share? It's a common peril. That's the thing that brings us together. So whenever we look at our problem and what's going on with each individual, we're a lot more alike than, we may give ourselves credit for.
Yep.
So whenever I look at my experience in Alcoholics Anonymous, and then I was in a couple other 12-step programs that I'm not going to mention just because I didn't do the work. Those programs, I'm sure, work for people. But anyways, I went and I spent time in these programs. I may even have been sober for a couple of days, couple of weeks in each of them. I don't really remember, but I do know one thing. I went in and I tried to socialize with people. I didn't really want to do anything that had to do with the steps or anything like that. I just wanted to get a little bit of inspiration from these stories and stuff. And what I found was the younger that I was in this, the less that I could find that common ground. And the things that we don't talk about were a lot of the reason as to why I couldn't relate to the people sitting in the room with me. And that's why it's important, is because whenever we put ourselves on an even playing field, regardless of views, religion, whatever it is, whenever we're on that even playing field, it's a lot easier to identify whenever we look at only the internal condition rather than, the way that we raise our kids, the way that we interact with people in society, the people that we choose to interact with in society. None of that stuff matters whenever you walk into the door of an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And my first sponsor and our political views did not align, and it didn't matter, because the things that mattered were he took time out of his day to listen to my stuff. I called him once a day, every day at 4:00, non-negotiable. And we went to meetings together 6 days out of the week. He took Sundays off. And then, he answered the phone whenever I called. If he missed the call, he'd call me back. And we did the work in a timely manner. And that was what was real important. But I will tell you, my expectation coming into the program wasn't to get sober from the start. I just wanted to get sober long enough to where I could get my mind right and go back to drinking and using the way that I was. But, there was that initial, those few things that he asked of me, and that was just to be open-minded, honest and willing. And, being open-minded goes along with if I see somebody that, and I'll just use a crazy example that I don't give a shit about toenail paint, but, if I see Matt walk into a meeting and he's got his toes painted and he's wearing flip-flops, it's like I'm open-minded enough to know that, hey, it doesn't matter the way that he chooses to dress or whatever. I can accept them because what it is, we suffer from the same thing, but we also recover from the same thing. And it has nothing to do with views, politics, the way that we dress, the way that we talk, any of that. As long as we're willing to do the work, then we kind of get the same results. And it has nothing to do with the stuff we're.
And I'm going to butcher this. I know Mike can tell me chapter and verse and down to verbatim, but the program we're in goes back into the 20s and the 30s, and that was a whole other time in America than it is right now, politically, every way it could be.
Right.
And they were so at the forefront of, this is what we're focusing on. We don't care about political. We don't care about your religion. We don't care about any of that stuff. Your sexual identity, your race, your whatever it might be. We don't care. This is all we're here to do. And there's some examples of that very early on with Bill and people trying to come in. And his deal was, do they have a problem with alcohol? Come on in. We don't care about that other stuff. And, and two, like you said, politics and religion, either one, Well,
those are things that tear people apart.
Yeah, and I think the whole world all has their opinion. But what's great is, because of this program, I don't have to prove I'm right to somebody, whether it's about what God I worship, what politics I believe. I'm happy that I can get to believe what I want to, and if somebody wants to believe something else, it's no skin off my back. God bless you, man. You're the one that's your. It's not me. I'm not, and I've learned that in AA to go, that could be my buddy and he can believe totally different in everything that I believe. But me and him sit down at AA meeting and we're both getting sober together, and God bless him, man. Go do your thing. I ain't mad at you, but I was not that way in the past.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any friends like that are close that y'all see completely different on certain issues?
Yes.
Yeah.
Drastically different, some of them.
Yeah. And anyways, he watches the show, I'm sure, at times. He's been on here a couple of times, but I spend time with someone in the program that we don't agree with a lot of things, but we spend a lot of time together. We go and do work at a treatment center together once a week. And,
Yeah, Coleman?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's my boy right there.
That's my dog.
Oh, hang on.
Coleman.
He's got his own music. Anytime we mention Coleman, the contract states we have to play Coleman's music.
Nice. But yeah, so it's like me and him, we can hang out, we can talk, we can bull crap, and we are in communication all throughout the week. And but what we believe outside our external condition doesn't matter so much to one another. It's about we have a common goal, and then whenever we look at the program specifically, it's like we have one requirement, and that's it.
Yeah.
The desire to stop drinking. That's all it is.
That's it.
Yeah. So, whenever we really look at the bare bones requirements of the program, it's like, man, anybody can come in and give what we do a shot.
And a lot of where we're going with some of this topic today is how we got the traditions of AA.
Absolutely.
Right?
Sure.
The steps I get, but the traditions actually keeps the organization from destroying itself. And a lot of those came from some of this, hey, why don't we sell ads and get more money for AA? Well, what do you do with the money? Oh, well, that's going to be, there you go. Mm-hmm. And, Coleman's probably, to be quite honest with you, me and Coleman go back for a while. Love him to death. He's one, and I have no idea how he feels on anything.
Right.
We've never had those conversations. I know what he was like when he was quitting smoking. It's pretty rough. But as far as
that's the cool thing. I have friends in AA now that I would not have had beforehand because we've come together for that common peril. That I was able to meet them, and go, they're all right guy. Right. I may not believe everything they do or say, and I'm not talking about Coleman. I'm just talking about in general. But he's a decent dude, or a decent lady or whatever it might be. And so it's kind of allowed me to like see people where they're at, you know, and accept some of that stuff.
Yeah. And also, whenever you really think back to those first days, like coming to Alcoholics Anonymous, we are so whooped and full of ourselves and thinking about our own problems whenever we first get here. I can't even think back to a time in those early days where I was worried about what someone else, or do you know what I mean? Like whether or not there was any differences
like
between us on that level, at least.
What their political affiliation.
You're right.
Who
It didn't
gives
really
a
matter.
shit?
It's like I'm only listening to the people that I feel as if are the smartest people in the room. I'm going to listen to them. And then I'm going to pick fun at the people that I think, you know, and that's just how my mind worked whenever I first got here. But, yeah, it didn't even ever cross my mind. I was like, you know, we're here for the same reason.
And you know, religion wise, and the God that you believe in, that's another one. And you work with guys and they come in and they have to find that higher power. And like I tell my guys, I'm not Billy Graham, bro. I'm not here to tell you anything about God. I have to have my own understanding of it. And I've had guys with some not strange but not very common spiritual beliefs, you know. But it worked for them. And as long as that's what they believed, and they believed in a higher power, that's what the steps say, and that's their higher power, man. Let's rock and roll. I'm not Billy Graham. I'm not running crusades. I'm not Jimmy Swaggart either. Me and Mike got into that one time.
Oral Roberts.
Earl Roberts, as they call him in North Louisiana.
Yeah, he is Oral Roberts.
We got in trouble with Miss Faye over that one. But,
and it wasn't oral that got us in trouble. It was anal that got us in trouble.
That was who did it.
That's the wrong Roberts.
Yeah,
It's the twin brother.
Yeah. So, but you know, that's kind of the cool thing that I've been able to grow from is like I don't have to push my beliefs on everybody. My ego is such too that I've lost and gotten outside of my own self and being such a know-it-all. You know, I don't know everything either, man. Whatever's working for you, this what works for me. Let's roll with it, you know, right. and go from there.
And
go ahead.
All right. Yeah. And also another thing that's really important about accepting everybody, you know, and really only having that one requirement whenever it comes to being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, man, you will never, and this is kind of turning into a traditions podcast, but whenever you look at the 11th tradition, it's our public relations policy. You know, it's based on attraction rather than promotion. And it's like, if everybody was the same in Alcoholics Anonymous, if everybody looked like us three, you know, we would only reach out to a certain group of people. Yeah. There would be very limited growth. I think we might do all right in Louisiana. But
yeah, we're probably all right here.
Yeah, exactly. But past that, man, that's why it's so important to have a diverse group of people in the program. That's why it's good to accept everybody, because if I go out and let's say that out in the program and I go to a random meeting and then there's a group of people that don't relate to me at all and I'm the only AA that they'll ever see, you know, it would be beneficial to have somebody that they could really identify with in some capacity or and I mean that's not always the case, because I've gotten inspiration from, you know, all walks of life. It doesn't matter who it is, but you know, having that diversity, having somebody else that is able to reach certain people, and you never really know who it is that you're able to reach, but yeah.
So one question that may come up is, well, they don't talk about religion, right? So, but yet they claim to be a spiritual organization, right? A faith-based organization. Yeah. And that, you know, all that simply means is we don't talk about religion. You get bring whatever faith you have, right? Even if it's none, bring it, and we will have you and open, you know, and welcome you with open arms. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I sat in a meeting one night down south, and we had down there. You have basically a chairman and you have a moderator, you know, in almost every meeting you go to, and so the chairman does the readings, all the readings, and the moderator starts speaking and picks the topic every day, 7 days a week. And this guy, I think the moderator got about 4 minutes into talking, and luckily the moderator had a lot of recovery. But man, there was this guy that just went off. He was just, I'm tired of hearing all this, all the reading. I don't want to hear. I want to know what I'm supposed to do to fix me right now. I mean, and I'm like, and obviously there's a problem there, right?
Yeah.
He ultimately ended up having to leave, right? We had to make him leave. But like up until the point where he completely was disruptive, and everyone kind of just accepted him as, hey, look, man, it's just that's who he is, and he may not really be like that. It may be the alcohol and drugs or whatever causing these problems. But I mean, that was, and of course, he doesn't understand the people sitting at the table don't they don't represent Alcoholics Anonymous, and the people in New York don't recognize Alcoholics Anonymous is the whole thing, right? The program is the 12 steps. And so there's nobody to get mad at. Who are you going to get mad at? You know? They really, like, there's no leadership in Alcoholics Anonymous.
And didn't Rockefeller told Bill or Bob
Rockefeller Jr.
that money would kill AA?
He said, I don't know if he used the term kill, but he said that the reason why, I think he said destroy.
Yeah.
Or if you had it, you destroy yourself.
That's
You need to be self-supporting to that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Bill originally wanted to hit a lick, I think. Just,
well, let's
make
not,
it pay at the beginning,
It's nothing crazy.
Oh, yeah. Let's not take this anywhere other than Bill was a promoter. Bill thought he could make some money off Alcoholics Anonymous. He did.
Yeah, for sure.
And to be quite honest with you, Mike thought he could make some money off his podcast. I really did. I thought at least it would be self-supporting.
Till it's time to renew Jill's contract.
It's not. No, I haven't made anything. I made $29 last year. Right. And spent about $30,000, but anyway.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Yeah. But he did. He thought he could, And then I think whenever the big book came out, he thought it was going to be. He was going to gain funds from that. And actually, I may be wrong for this, but I think his idea to write the 12 and 12. And I think he might have made something off the 12 and 12.
Right.
Right, but ultimately that would Bill and his family were never, even Dr. Bob being a doctor, you would think he's a doctor, but back then doctors weren't like they are now. Right. They didn't drive Ferraris and Porsches and all that other good stuff. But he wasn't a man of means his whole life either. But I can tell you I have seen people come in and get very upset because they have a platform they want to talk about and it has nothing to do with recovery, and the other members just shut them down. Just like, hey, they ain't got nothing to do with nothing. And there's not even a meeting for that, right? You might want to go to Anger Anonymous or something, but there's just certain things we don't talk about because it just doesn't come up on recovery. And then, a lot of times you do hear people talk about, romance or finance or something like that. And the truth is they might just need to get that stuff out, just to say it, this is, someone broke my heart again, what I mean? But that's what Matt did the whole first month.
Again. Right. Well, you know what I figured out, guys, staying in this program, it was that toenail painting I was doing wrong, and that's cured it. I'm good now.
It's not that he stopped painting his toenails. He just wears closed-toe shoes now.
Yes. So I keep that to myself. It's private. Only me and a few others know about it. But, I mean, the religion thing, I grew up with, as a preacher's kid, so I was leery of that right off the bat. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. They're going to have me doing blah, blah, blah. And I got in here, and they were like, no, man, it's up to you to figure out whatever. And I'm like, wait, what? And that's what worked for me, where religion did not work originally, from beforehand. And I'm pretty tickled about that, man. It's one of my favorite things about Alcoholics Anonymous is it's such a motley group of people, and you couldn't just go out and just throw this group of people together it is. I mean, it's every kind of walk of life and everything. And I have friends that we don't see eye to eye politically, religiously, any of that stuff. And then my partners. and we don't have to get into all that stuff. You know, they can believe what they want to believe. This is, you know, we all have a right to do that. So, but
I was sitting here currently looking up AA meetings in Reno. You know, I gotta go to a meeting in Reno, right?
Yeah, for
Somewhere. I had a noon meeting I'd go to over there in Fort Worth, and there's only about 6-7 people show up every day. You know, but that's okay. Just 6-7 people.
Right.
And I think that one day I was sitting in there, guys, and I mean like two old timers. One had like 42 years, and the other one had over 20. And I thought they were gonna throw fists, man.
Nice.
Yeah, even when one of them was apologizing to the other one, like it was just, you know, you better kind of thing. You better apologize to me. I thought they was going to kick each other's butts, man. But, yeah. So that's another thing that does not belong in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
I saw some old timers pretty close. One of them's pretty close. One of them's definitely is. Had got into something on Facebook. Showed up at the same meeting, ended up apologizing to each other in the meeting, hugging it out, and showing a lot of folks in there that, hey, number one, then this was their own admission. We shouldn't have got into that in the first place. And number two, we're going to squash it and move on because it ain't that important when it comes to everybody getting sober. And I remember that, and it was cool. I was like, okay. And they did, man, got it right in the middle of the meeting, and I'm sorry, hugged it out, and went on with the meeting. So, and I see them around each other and all that good stuff.
Handle stuff like adults too.
Yeah,
that also needs to be part of recovery. When there's they say handling stuff, they handle things like adults, but most of the time adults don't handle it right either. You know, if you ever look at it, a lot of the adults that we know are just like giant kids. You know, like here you are acting like this, and you're a grown person, and you know, I don't understand it. I try not to argue. I don't think I've ever had a problem with anyone in AA, like it ever. I mean, like a real problem, like where they're, you know. But I have seen them.
Yeah.
You know?
Just get in a program with your sister, see what happens.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest with you, me and my one of my sisters were in the program at the same time, but we didn't go to the same meetings.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she went to ones over in the south side of Shreveport, and I was here at the Koala Club, and that's been, man, many years. That's been probably 12, 13 years ago. Whenever she was in AA, but you know, there's just certain things that don't belong. But I have seen groups just about destroy themselves with some of the pettiness. Right.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the second topic of today, Matt, and that is opinions. What's your opinion on opinions?
I don't have no opinion on opinions. No, I'm kidding. I mean, that's another deal. Is like I've learned that I may have an opinion on something, whatever that might be, but as it pertains to Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't have to share that opinion. It doesn't mean my opinion is law. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. It doesn't mean I know more than everybody else. It doesn't mean any of that shit. And I'm okay to have opinions, and I'm okay to listen to others' opinions. That's where I've grown too, is to be able to listen to somebody else that I don't necessarily agree with what they're saying, but to hear them out and go, okay, I'll think about it. You know, that's a big deal for me. And I'm not closed-minded to stuff, and talking about the groups and things. You know, I was a GSR for a little while. We do have a business meeting at our home group. Those things, you can get into things in those meetings, and especially with the GSR, it's more the political side of it. But at the end of the day, we are Alcoholics Anonymous, not Matt. Matt's not the president. He doesn't get to. I'm the same as everybody else sitting in there. So, as a group, we decide what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to do. And whether I'm on which side of the group that said yeah or no is irrelevant. And so, yeah, I think opinions. You unless someone just specifies, hey, this is an opinion, and I've heard some old timers do that before here and there as they share and they go, this is my opinion. That's fine if you share it that way. But my opinion is not law, period. And I don't even like giving an opinion on things because I don't want to mess somebody else up that has different experience, a different background. You know what I mean? What's worked for me may not work for that person or whatever it might be. So I try if someone asks, then maybe I do.
Right.
But not giving it out freely,
Yeah, and whenever I think about opinions in the program, there's the ones that kind of really stick out as far as relationships go, sexual relationships, and all these other things, especially early on in sobriety and being around certain people and doing certain things, which we do need to change certain aspects about our life. Most of the time, it's almost all of them. But my rule my rule of thumb, listening to people, a lot of the time, if you can, as far as the program is concerned, if you can open up the literature and you can figure out like, okay, this is in line with what's being said in the book, and if it's not, then a lot of the time you can kind of take it with a grain of salt. Now, I would say that I'm not saying I'm overriding anybody's sponsor or anything like that, but I got into a relationship early on in recovery. Do I suggest everybody does that? No. Did it work out for me? Yeah, it worked out. We've built a family and all this other stuff. Still sober today. Haven't had to get a new sobriety date. My son's never seen me messed up. And it's like, so there are times where that's it works out. It's all fine. I would say that early on, the biggest thing is really get to know the literature, work the steps the best that you can, because there's certain things that kind of stuck out to me. It's like I would hear all of these people talk about relationships while I'm in the middle of one, while I've got a pregnant girlfriend and all this other stuff, and I would sit there and get anxious and scared, and I would worry and be remorseful and all this other stuff. And it's like, whenever we read the book, we see stuff like, hey, don't drift off into worry and remorse.
Yes, exactly.
And it's
morbid reflection.
Right, exactly. So whenever I sit there and I listen to those certain opinions about certain topics, I can really throw myself out of whack. But if I'm grounded in the program, I'm doing the things that are requirements. I'm open-minded, honest, and willing, and I'm just trying to do my absolute best, then a lot of the time things work out regardless of what someone's opinion is on the topic. But yeah, and then there is some level of experience whenever it comes to certain things. It's like that's why we have the traditions in the first place. And it's like whenever I'm sharing in a meeting, if my opinion is not in line with the traditions, then in my mind I probably shouldn't say it. Because even if I don't understand or comprehend each aspect of the traditions, why they were made and everything else, if I'm in line with those, then I'm at least protecting my brothers and sisters in the room. So I feel as if that's really important. But yeah, and opinions are also really great for the meeting after the meeting.
Yeah.
That's the best time for it, because then you break off with all your buddies and everything else, and then y'all get to sit down and have discussions like what we're having right now. Yeah. And that's probably the best place for it. But you never know, and I say this all the time, but you never know whenever you're the only person that can reach somebody at any given time. And it's like it's important to be really in line with what it is that we do and what the program is. And it's like my view of things is the program is the 12 steps. Yep. And then we have, we have really great things that we get to do as a result of doing the 12 steps. We get to have these meetings. We get to go out and do these conventions and hang out and do all kinds of stuff. But, man, if we didn't have the 12 steps, the unity doesn't work. There's no, if we're not physically sober, then we don't work out the emotional stuff. But at first, whenever you first get to the program, a lot of the time these things aren't obvious, even though it's really simple and you can look back at how your recovery panned out. A lot of this stuff is not obvious. It's like, oh, well, if we didn't have the traditions and people didn't work the steps, then we couldn't have these meetings. And it's like that's almost a fact. Like it just wouldn't have worked out the way that it has. But looking back at it, for sure, that makes a lot of sense. So that's why it's important to really have opinions in check. And if you're sharing something, that's your opinion, and you verbalize that, and as long as it's in line with the traditions, then I don't ever see anything wrong with that, for sure. And then if you want to break any of the traditions, do it in the privacy of your own friend group.
Yeah, we'll do that. Definitely.
Joe, I was early on, and Mr. Joe B. has many decades of sobriety, still does, but I was early on sitting by him, and someone in a meeting brought up the relationship thing in a meeting, and the other person was in the room, and they were in a relationship. It was early on, and I don't even remember the whole gist of it, but they brought it up. And as soon as the meeting ends, another lady runs up to Mr. Joe, and she says, wanting to start in on the two people that were in the relationship. And Mr. Joe's a very quiet man, soft-spoken, but very solid, you know. And I just happened to be standing right there. And the lady runs up and she said, did you, and just didn't even get a full sentence out of her mouth. And Mr. Joe just quietly looked at her and he said, you know what I find is best is when I mind my own fucking business. Yeah. He just walked off. And I was like, that's how you do that. That squished all that. Yeah. And I went, that's the way to handle that right there, right off the bat. And it's not going to be any of that crap, you know. And I just was like, I like this dude, you know. But, you know, you're right. I mean, you go back to relationships. Everybody has an opinion on that. Everybody's got a dang opinion on everything. We're all alcoholics. We all can tell our opinion. But that don't mean it's right. You know, we had a couple on here about a year into this. They met in rehab. They've been married for 10 or 15 years now. If Jill was up here, she could tell me. They're great folks. They met in rehab, went to sober living together, did the whole deal. Now, you know, everywhere in the world they frown on meeting up in rehab, but it's worked fine for them, you know, so who's to say it won't work? And like you said, you make somebody uncomfortable sharing those opinions, and somebody, you know, is sitting in there going, wait a minute, I'm doing okay, and I'm with somebody that I met, and so we have to be careful about that stuff, you know.
Right.
And you know, there really is, like, I think if someone came, like one of my sponsees, I hardly ever, when they come to me and say, hey, this, and this, whatever that scenario, I go to the big book. Let's look at the big book. You know, when it comes to sex, the big book says, hey, we don't do that. We don't keep after that. When it comes to relationships, you know, what we do is ask God to mold our idea of a relationship, and we need to live up to it. Matter of fact, a lot of the fourth and fifth step is about understanding where we screwed up in past relationships and how we build future relationships, right? And so I don't have to give you an opinion on anything. Hell, I ain't the one that got you. You know, there's a book here that helps us all out, and you know, to be quite honest with you, that's a lot of times what I do is I'll go just straight to the book.
I had I talk about it. Me and him fished the other day. My sponsor and I, and growing through this thing with him, he never gives me his opinion. I can say, hey, and he'll just look at me. And I'm like, I'm in a weird way, I'm telling this story because I'm wanting him to throw me advice, you know. And he'll just look at me, and then finally he'll go, are you asking me a question? Like, he has no comment on any of it, you know. And I go, yeah, I guess I am. And he goes, you're asking me what I would do or my opinion on that. And I go, yeah, what would you do on it? Then he might tell me, you know. And when he does, it's short, sweet, and to the point. It's not this rambling, self-absorbed, I'm the end-all, be-all of all wisdom. Yeah, guru. I had a meeting one night, and a guy was drunk in the meeting, and he rambled on, and he was intoxicated. And I was chairing the meeting, and I was new in sobriety, and I should have cut the guy off. And I didn't, and I let him go. Finally, he quits. Somebody else moves on. And he goes right back when that person's done and starts sharing again. I'm going to share again, blah, 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 blah. And I let him go a minute. And I was like, look, hey, you already shared once. We can't double dip. Move on. And it bothered me. And so we were walking out of the meeting, and I was walking with my sponsor. And I said, what did I do wrong right there? And he goes, you just let it go on too long. Should have cut it off earlier. And walked off. That was it. No you fucked that up. You know, it's none of that kind of stuff. It's just like, hey, that's what you should have done.
Man, a
It's
lot
so
of
And
times.
funny
it's
that-
because I asked him.
It's so funny that you said that because I had the same exact experience with your sponsor.
Really?
Yeah. So he told me, he was like, next time cut it a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's you know, I'm a better fisherman than him. I do want to get that out there. He doesn't listen to this show, so you know, I asked him one time. I was like, "Hey, you listen to the podcast?" He goes, "Nope, never do."
Right. Yeah.
Thanks, Bobby.
I'm actually a better fisherman than he is too.
Yeah, and so he's like my brother Adam. He doesn't believe fish bite anything but crickets. You know, that's all he thinks you can catch them on. But
I came up on
he's-
some schooling fish the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, they were all out there, you know, the little striped bass hitting the top. So what I did was I used a crawl worm, or it's called a baby, I don't know, it looks like a crawfish. But anyway, I just cut the bait in half and left the hook hanging out and just skimmed it across the water. And as they would hit it, we just, you know, just yank them in. It was pretty fun.
We went Thursday evening, and it was, the water temperature was 95 or 6 degrees, the water temperature. And we ended up catching a few, man. I caught a pretty good one. I hadn't caught one that good in a few years, that big. But, you know, that also goes back to, I hope that as time goes on and folks come in, that they have that I'm able to have that moment with people that maybe are new and they're trying to, you know, because it's easy to get caught up in outside stuff, and that someone has that Mr. Joe moment with me to where you go, I just mind my business and walk out, because you don't know who's listening that goes, oh, that's how you handle that, you know. Right. And Bobby's the same way. He's very good. If I call him right now for anything, he'd tell me. If I say, man, I need some help, what I do, he'd tell me in a heartbeat. But if I don't tell him or ask him, he's not giving me his opinion, you know. And I know that I'm gonna, and he doesn't judge the result of it. He doesn't turn around and go, see, there's none of that, you know. And that's been but yeah, he's pretty quick on stuff. There's no preamble to it. It's just cut and dry. But
Well, I had I remember down south again. A lot of stories from down south, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
But there was a guy that came into AA, and you know he's probably, and I don't know 100% because I haven't talked to anybody in a while, but he's probably still sober, and he's probably got 5 years, close to 5 years now. But he came into AA, and shortly after, I mean, he was doing good. He's one of those that I'm gonna give it a month, and then at the end of the month he liked what he had, right? But he was probably 3, 4, 5 months sober, and he got off into watching YouTube videos on, I mean, that's the gentleman's 10, 15 years older than me, okay? But he was watching YouTube videos, and on these videos, people were giving their opinions of AA, okay? And most of them, it's a cult. It don't work. And I'm not encouraging anybody to get on YouTube and look them up. If you want to, that's your business. What you see is not, but what you believe is completely up to you, right? But you know, it didn't work, and then but no one has even taken the time to work it, right? You show up, that doesn't mean you'll get sober. But I remember him going over. I mean, there was probably 15 different scenarios of people's opinions on Alcoholics Anonymous. And again, I think it bothers people. You know, if someone goes in McDonald's and gets upset, there's somebody somewhere they can call. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, at AA, there's not.
mm-hmm.
There's nobody in charge. You are going to have to figure out how to solve your own shit. All right? And that's one of the things that maybe I think some of them were frustrated about. They were looking for the management to fuss because, you know, they gave $1 every day for 2 weeks.
I had a issue with a guy in the program and talking about how things were handled and really causing me to grow. But it was something outside of the building. It wasn't inside the building, directly AA related, but it ended up coming in there because of outside. And it ended up my sponsor, his sponsor, and 2 other old timers, we all wound up in a room together and talked about it and cleared the air, and everybody hugged, and then we prayed about it and we left. I still hang out with all those people all the time. And at the time, this person was very upset. And it was just different for me to
handle it like that.
You know? And
Gangbang it.
Yeah. And it was, it was funny too, because my sponsor and his sponsor didn't talk much at all. The two old timers who wasn't affiliated with anybody, they were the ones that were like, here's the deal, and it was nice to just sit there and watch that. And it's kind of like being having a public defender in court. You just sit there and keep your mouth shut, But, no, man, the program's taught me a lot of ways to deal with a lot of issues like that, that I haven't never done before.
Right.
And
back kind of to what Mike was talking about a second ago, it's like the way that things are now, a lot of people go online and try to get these product reviews of something before they make a purchase. It's like they want to see what other people's opinions are on all of these different products and resources and everything else before they make that investment, whether it be your money. With Alcoholics Anonymous, it's going to be your time. There's a lot of things that you have to invest into Alcoholics Anonymous for this to actually work. It takes a lot to actually get what we get, because you have to do what we did. And whenever you have ease of access to a lot of information, I understand the perspective and like going and trying to get these opinions and stuff, but there's no way to fact check anybody's experience whenever they're making these videos and everything else. And I even had my questions whenever I first got to the program. There was the guy that owned my sober living house that I, had my first 6, 7, 8, 9 months, however long I was there. The guy that owned that house, whenever I would talk to him and everything else, and I would sit there and look at him and be like, dude, there's no way you haven't smoked a joint in 16, 17 years or something, and I would base my own opinion, but there's no way of proving anybody's experience. And as I grew and got to know him and everything else, I obviously know that that's not true. He walks the walk and everything. But whenever you sit there and you have someone that could have potentially done steps 1, 2, and 3 and walked out, like we've seen so many times in the program, and then they go and make a video and they're like, well, and then they share all kinds of stuff that doesn't pertain to anything that we have going on. And another good point is, it's like, man, the program itself stays the same across the board.
That's right.
Because it's the program, it's the 12 steps. But the experience that you have as far as going to different groups and everything else, that can vary just a little bit. You can have some people that don't necessarily pay attention to the traditions.
Personalities.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, that's exactly right. So whenever we think about our code, it's like, what's our code? Love and tolerance.
Yep.
Yeah, regardless of who walks through the door, love and tolerance. And then, groups have their own rules. So it's like, if you have a group that you go to that you don't necessarily like the way that their format is, or you don't like the way that, they have one person do a bunch of the readings and it gets boring to you and stuff. The great thing about that is you're not stuck, or you're not signed up to that one group. You can go right down the street and go to the next one. I highly suggest for you to develop your own opinion on Alcoholics Anonymous through your own work, because it's easy to get a review on a camera and know if it's going to be any good. But whenever it comes to practical application of principles in our own lives, there's only one person that can tell us how it's going to work out, because not everybody that walks through the door of Alcoholics Anonymous is an alcoholic or a drug addict.
Yep.
Not everybody that suffers somewhat from drugs and alcohol suffers the same way. And there's people that just heavy drinkers, heavy users, they have the power to just stop on their own. And, whether it be from court-ordered meetings to any of these things, and then you have somebody that doesn't suffer from the same disease as you, telling you that, hey man, it's not worth it, just stop drinking on your own, and all these other things. It's like we base our opinion of ourselves, and that's why you can't have anybody work the first few steps for you. You know what I mean? You can't have anybody work any of the steps for you, but there's a reason why in the first step we base a conclusion off of our own experience, and it's the same way whenever it comes to our experience in the program itself. Before we're basing that, we're basing our first step on our previous experience, and then once we've worked the steps and we've gotten established and started doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, then we can kind of have an opinion on what it is. And like a lot of people say, and this kind of goes back to expectations from the last episode, it's like give yourself whatever period of time. It doesn't really matter what it is. Typically you hear a month, a year, whatever it is. And then whatever your expectation for that time is, you will always sell yourself short. And it's like all I expected was to get a lower drug tolerance and the ability to, that's all I expected. And it's like, look at how my life is today. You know, I showed up in the program homeless. The only clothes that I had, my older sister bought for me. All of these things, just got out of prison, all this stuff. And it's like, if you were to tell me at that time what my life would be like today, for one, I wouldn't believe you because I'd already made up my mind that I was going to drink and use until the day I died. And then for two, and I already knew that I didn't have the power to stop doing that. Didn't have any belief in anything else. So I'm saying all that to say this. It's like we have to really be careful whenever we listen to opinions, because if we want to get in the program and give it an honest shot, we're going to have to really focus in on the 12 steps themselves, and then the opinions and all it being philosophical and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, that's fun, and but we really got to base ourselves in what the program actually is.
Sure.
Be open-minded.
Be open-minded.
Be open-minded, and just remember there's directions right there.
Yep.
That's what you got a sponsor for the most part.
I go on a lot of social media stuff, and I don't post a lot of stuff about I don't post anything about Alcoholics Anonymous, actually. But I do read a lot of that stuff that people are reviewing, and they're, AA was terrible, and you hear all this stuff, and it's like, man, whatever worked for someone. And they go, I did SMART recovery, and good. God bless you, man. You don't have to trash something because it didn't work for you, and maybe mess it up for someone else and have them prejudging that. I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of ways for people to get sober and clean and have a quality of life, and that's great, whatever it is. But man, the only way I can talk about is this way, because that's the only one I did. So
yeah.
What is SMART recovery?
It's
like lipo.
It's kind of changing your way of thinking, using different thinking techniques, positive thinking type things. It's just a
Everybody
it's more
goes out in
common
the
now.
field.
It's more like
Chants.
online, online stuff. But it's I don't know that how big it is now, but it's slowly you start to hear about it over the last few years. We had some counselors that were asking us when Chris and I worked at a treatment center, and she was not in recovery, and she came down and she goes, my client wants to I'm doing their treatment plan, and they want to do SMART recovery. What do you know about that? And I said, I don't know jack nothing about it. And Chris C didn't either. I said, we don't know. We've heard the name. That's it. I said, I don't know anybody that this is what I did, and she goes, okay. But I've heard good stuff. There's people get sober. Hey man,
Nice.
rock and roll,
Yeah. Hey.
So
that's the deal. Like, I'm not going to ever, if somebody comes to me with some way to get sober, I'm never going to tell them it don't work. I have no idea.
yeah, God bless you, man. Go try it.
All I can tell you is what I did.
Yeah.
And I think if I could get sober, anybody could through this program. But if you think you can get sober through that, try it. I mean, I'm not necessarily, I want you to. I know what the hamster wheel is like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know when, you destroy everything and then sit back and wonder, why in the world did I do that? And then you turn around and do it again, right? Of course you want people to have a healthy relationship. And so, and AA doesn't have a monopoly on recovery. I think Bill talks about that an awful lot in his stuff, right? It's just AA does not have a monopoly on recovery. So,
yeah.
Yeah, we mention that every Thursday whenever we go to the treatment center, because it's part of our introduction. We let them know that we're with Alcoholics Anonymous, and if this isn't the A for you, find the A to save your A.
There's
I'm with you on that.
Lots of good stuff out there that people love and do. We had Stephanie and Dwayne on here one time. They're CR people. That's worked really well for them, and man, they're great people. That's awesome. There's a lot of people do CR. That's fantastic, So,
yeah. And for the true drug addict, for the true alcoholic, as long as we address the underlying issue, or actually it's not even the underlying issue, it's the issue, it's ourselves. Whenever we really address what's going on, and we have a personality change sufficient to bring about recovery, that's what it's all about.
That's what Chris and I both told that counselor that night. I said, I don't really know what that is, but I've heard of it. I know it's a legit deal.
Yeah.
But like, they need to work on something.
Yeah,
they got to do something.
As long as that is the end result. And I'm only speaking for like true alcoholics, true drug addicts of my variety. It's like, I just know that there are normal people out there, and that's fine as well. If you're not a true drug addict or not a true alcoholic, and you're just a heavy drinker, you're welcome in these programs. You are, and I mention it all the time, but the only requirement, it never says the only requirement is that you're thoroughbred alcoholic and all this other stuff.
Or that you put $1 in the basket every week.
You have that desire to stop drinking, and that's what allows you to have that membership, is just a desire.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, a lot of people that don't have that desire end up getting sober.
Yeah, that's true, man.
I'm one of them. But yeah, man, just I got off topic. I can't remember what I was about to say.
Well, it's just a very, very simple, uncomplicated deal, and I'm surprised at the simplicity of it, but I think that's why it works. It's just very A, B, C, D, E. You do these things, you get this.
Keep it simple.
Yep. So
October 12th is when our next episode will air, Matt.
Okay.
So, and it will be minus Jill. Hopefully people have watched every episode, but we have come to a conclusion of this one.
Okay.
So it's time to wrap it up. Hayden, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Our last episode at Rule 62 Studios right here, guys.
Yeah, we're going to be at Reno 911 Studios.
We will be,
next time.
It'll probably still have to legally be called Rule 62 Studio, but it won't be here in Bossier City, Louisiana. It'll be in Reno, Nevada. And hopes everyone comes back. That'll give us 1 month between this broadcast and the next broadcast to get a new format figured out and get some recording done. So,
and hopefully we'll be bringing in some more stories of outside our area, some different viewpoints and things like that. We got some people that we've been talking to that we're hoping to come on and do their story, and it'll be really good. So
yeah,
nice. And I actually have somebody that I might recommend for a story.
Sure, absolutely.
Sounds good. We take anything.
Absolutely, contact us. I mean, anybody listening, look, we ain't shy. I mean, Lee's told his in California. I mean, we talked about it. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. I was like, how about today? And like the next day we were doing it.
Wasn't long. Yeah,
Danielle.
Lee and Danielle are still on my Instagram. Keep up with
But they jumped right on. I mean, we don't, man. We're here to carry the message and spread the word. So,
right. Well, signing off from the Bossier City branch of the Rule 62 Studios, guys. We appreciate it. We have been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.